This episode of Capes and Lunatics is brought to you by Tweaked Audio. To get awesome headphones, go to tweakedaudio.com and use the coupon code Southgate to get 30% off, free shipping, and a lifetime warranty. Or you can get there through the link on our website, southgatemediagroup.com.
Yeah, surf the beat cause the bass is bubbling. Gotta get it in before it comes tumbling down. There's only so much time to find this kind of rhyme to express my mind. Cause everything that has ever been made will eventually fade like the money you made.
Welcome back to the CageCast. Now, I'm sure for most of you all, this has been an uninterrupted trip down the streets of Harlem with Luke Cage and friends, but in fact, for me and Mozz, this is a return to form. We've been taking a brief hiatus, but now we're back. And what a place to come back for Pete's sake. Season 2, Episode 9. Hunkered down in a makeshift safe house, Luke and Misty butt heads over how to handle Mariah. Meanwhile, long-buried family secrets come to light. Director this week is Clark Johnson. And our writers are, of course, Archie Goodwin and George Tuska, giving those created by credits from Marvel Comics along with Roy Thomas, and I missed who the other person was. But in our written by, here we go. There we go. I had a big old pop up. And Roy Thomas and John Romita Sr. Giuliani Coker gets our created by. We've got 2 written bys this week. This story was so good it took 2 people to write it. Matt Owens and, of course, Ian Stokes. And then Matt Owens took on the role of executive story editor. And then Matt Lopez, hardest working man in show business, our staff writer. Dwayne Tuner and Marcus McLaren both did character stuff for James Lucas, uncredited.
So wait a second, there's a writer named Ian Stokes?
Yeah, there's a writer named Ian Stokes. He is a Stokes.
Oh.
So
He is a Stokes.
Yes, take that for what it means. Oh boy, and we got some things with the Stokes here tonight. Because we had all the family secrets coming out.
Mm-hmm.
But let's do our intros real quick because I realized I overlooked that. I, of course, am Charlie, the Professor Esser, and with me, as always, is my friend who is skinny, my friend who is rich.
It's Mozz.
We open up here at, of course, a Rand Corporation safe house because, you know, this is what Danny Rand does best: sign checks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Later tonight, we're going to do our first review of season 2 of Iron Fist. And at this point in history, we have been informed that will be the final season on Netflix.
Hooray!
Well, Marvel is saying, oh, but we're going to move it over to the Disney streaming service, but we'll see. We'll see. And they also said that Iron Fist will still be still be showing up throughout the Netflix universe, which I think is really where he does his best work. You know, I think that this over-reliance on having your own show is kind of a detriment to storytelling. Because I think some of the best, you know, I mean, they just approved the Black Widow film. And as much as I'm happy and excited to see Scarlett Johansson in the Black Widow film, I got to be honest, I have seen like 3 Black Widow films already. Because every film she's in, she is such a dominant presence. And so, you know, so much a core to it that I you know.
I think it also has something to do with how well somebody takes the opportunity of having a lead role in a show. Either, you know, the writers or the actor or whatever, you know, they have this character to play with and they don't deliver, and that's what I think happened here. I don't know if Scarlett Johansson will be able to deliver, but I know this guy didn't really deliver, or the writers really didn't deliver for Iron Fist.
Yeah, well, and what I will always say is, you know, and this is what I'll always say, you know, because I never want to blame an actor for bad writing, and I never want to blame a bad writing, or I never want to blame the writer if the adaptation had limitations. And I think that's been the crux of it for Iron Fist from the start, is that there is just a limitation on what you can do with Iron Fist because he's a weird character. He was very much a character of the 1970s, and unlike other 1970s ideas, the white ninja just has never caught on, you know?
No, that's not true. I mean, well, in the 80s it did. The American Ninja series that Michael Dudikoff was my favorite series of movies as a kid, so it can be that good.
Oh no! I'm not saying, but this is what I'm saying. It's of its time.
No.
So Iron Fist is the 70s. Michael Dudikoff's American Ninja, and yes, I loved American Ninja. Don't get me wrong. But it's something that if you did an American Ninja today, it would be a much harder sell. You know, it just because I think that and of course the thing with American Ninja is that it is set in the 80s and starts basically in the 60s, and there is a whole story there that builds into it that I don't think Danny Rand ever got.
My where I differ in opinion from you is that I don't think that was at fault in the failure of the show. I think that lies squarely on whoever is responsible for how the story was told, be it the tip of the spear with the actor or the person wielding it being the director or the whole host of other people involved in between. But the point is, it didn't work, and I don't think it was because the story that they chose to tell was hard to tell.
But we will be talking about all of that on the Return of the Ironcast. Check your local listings because that probably will not get posted for a couple of weeks because they're probably going to go through all of the CageCast, then to the Ironcast, and then we'll get to the Devil You Know cast, which we'll probably start recording when that comes out as well because that's coming out in another month as well. Because yeah, honestly, who isn't? Who isn't? But let's get back to this story, which is a great story. This is a bottle episode for Luke Cage, which means everything takes place in pretty much one location. There's one brief trip out. Well, there's like two brief trips out to other locations, but most of everything takes place in this safe house. And we get to see really just everybody at their best and worst, I think.
Interesting.
And Mariah really, I kind of feel this is really Mariah's best episode.
Without a doubt.
This is where she really gets to be both fully evil and fully human. And the balance between, darkness and humanity is really written large here, where you really get to see how being evil is central to being a human being. Because the thing is, just to let's just spoil it right now. So if you haven't watched this episode yet, you may want to back it up. Now, we had previously learned that essentially, I think we previously had learned that the person that Tilda thinks was her father was actually gay.
Right.
And that she basically was that he was a gay man, and and that's why they essentially got married, because we find out that Mariah was actually already pregnant with Tilda when they got married. And actually, that might be a revelation in this episode. These all blend together when you watch these back to back. And in this moment, so we get that as this revelation, but that's not really the problem. And of course, that gentleman dies while he's being a Doctor Sans Frontier, as they say in France.
But what did you mean? What do you mean, like, by being evil is sort of a basis, or?
Well, because essentially you see, so and this is central to this moment, is here was this woman who's, because she gives all of her confessions here. She basically says, and she opens up with, Luke Cage drove Cornell crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no doubt about that Cornell went way off the rails. As Shade said, when Mariah killed him, it's like, look, I was actually coming to kill him myself before you beat me to the punch. This guy was not good for business. And because of that, we see how essentially everyone else's choices in this, everyone else is disrupting Mariah's life, as it were, is what the problem is. That essentially Mariah has tried to live her life, but has been exploited, abused, literally, and and figuratively. And and at every turn in her life, she has tried to make the best of it. And because she's made the best of it, people call her evil. You know, and you know that moment that is like the most taking aback aspect of it, when she tells Tilda she didn't want her and she never loved her. She tried, but she just can't. Because every time she looks at her, she sees her rapist. She sees her uncle. And that is powerful, that as she's saying this thing that should make us recoil from her, like, oh, I never loved my children, it's actually this thing that makes us say, well, of course, you know, and to feel empathy for her. And, you know, that's what I say about Mariah throughout the whole thing, is that, you know, she did not choose this life. And I think that is, you know, that is one of the things that I think is maybe the most telling aspect of these characters, is no one really chooses to be where they're at here, you know. Luke Cage didn't choose to go to prison. He didn't choose to get these powers. And Mariah, and even really to a lesser extent Cottonmouth, did not choose this life. They were born into this world of the Stokes family.
Right.
And they were twisted and manipulated into being who they became. And in both of them, I think there was a core of humanity that, unfortunately, you know, humans can be evil. And the choice to make you evil doesn't make you less human. I think that is the most powerful aspect of this, is that even when we are at our most evil, we are still human. And I think sometimes we all struggle with that, because we do see evil every day.
So, in a sense, are we saying that evil isn't evil, it's just hurt people?
Well, I think Yoda says it best, you know, which is, you know, fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, and hate is the path of the dark side.
Right, so there's evil for the sake of evil is a different thing.
Well, what I'll say is there are people that have more choices. And here's what I'll say. The more choices you have in your life, you know, so for example, when you take someone like Wilson Fisk, he had other choices. He was not born into a crime family. He was not even born into a political family. He was a man who made his life, but he found that was the way he could make his life easier, you know. He could get where he wanted to be faster and easier by becoming a criminal, you know. You look at the Hand. The Hand were arguably, you know, mendicants on their way to nirvana, when they decided, no, this power should be used selfishly, not as a tool for gaining enlightenment, but as a tool for simply prolonging our own weakened forms. And that is the choice you make when you become evil. And of course, the thing to remember is even they did not sacrifice all of their humanity in becoming evil. They didn't stop feeling pain just because they were evil. Even as they inflicted pain, they still felt pain. And if we are going to take a moral stance on heroism, and I think this is actually really one of those points about what makes you a superhero, is, again, it's about that choice. Because here you have Luke Cage at the end of this, as he has become triumphant against, well, not quite at the end, because there's an ending and then there's like 6 other endings after, because it's not the end yet. You know, when I'm blanking on his name. When Bushmaster says, you know, you will have to fight me with every breath if you don't kill me. You know, because I will come back. And Luke Cage just says, yeah, and I will fight you with every breath I have when you come back.
Every single time.
Every single time. Because that is the choice Luke Cage makes. Because, yes, he could kill him. He could take the easy way out.
Right, and I think that's the broader point as a metaphor for all of it, is that it's never a settled matter with anybody. you always have to be vigilant and fighting against the possibility of making an evil choice.
Well, exactly, and not for nothing. And again, I think Bushmaster is a real example of this, because at no point was there a reason for Bushmaster not to walk away from the feud with the Stokes.
Yeah.
You know, everyone who committed the sins are long dead. You know, it's not like Mariah was there when Mom's Mabel or Mama Mabel, you know, set the house on fire.
Right.
It's not like Mariah was an active participant in the negotiations. Everyone that made that, now when he's coming with his claim, you know, maybe she is dismissive of his claim, but you know, not for nothing, people come in and say all sorts of things, and you know, she may have been aware that this was a case, but you know, I don't think that her dismissal of it is as problematic as Bushmaster's choice to come to make war. He came to make war, and it's an interesting question. If she had parlayed with him at that point, would he have accepted anything other than, you know, her complete destruction? You know, and that I think is the real truth, because the fact of the matter is, she had already made deals with this guy. And had he presented this whole thing, he could have, you know, who knows? He might have even been able to, like, I think if their roles were reversed, I think Mariah would have totally ingratiated herself on him.
Yeah.
And worked out that shared power question, which, of course, going back to the original sin of the Stokes, was what that was really about. Is Buggy was saying to Bushmaster's grandfather, whose name I forget, that, look, we're not going to win a war with the Italians. You know, we're not going to win a war with the Irish. Our only gameplay is to parlay, maintain our power base, and work within that system. And, you know, but the grandfather's like, no, we've built this. This is ours now. We can't give it up. It's like, you know, only a fool says I can't give it up. Because no matter how hard you work, you have to know how much you can lose. And in fact, the more you work for it, the more you should be afraid of what you'll lose. Because, you know, Buggy understood that they weren't going to win that fight. That the war in Harlem, and, you know, for what it's worth, I imagine that there might be something unique about being an African American in that, you know, Buggy Stokes maybe understood that, look, you know, the Italians and the Irish, they're looking for a reason to eliminate African American ownership of anything.
Right.
And if we fight, not only will we die, but this all of Harlem will burn, and they will salt the earth. And because he's seen that time and time again. And, you know, it's one thing to run into the hills and be a guerrilla warrior, but there's no hills in Harlem. You know, and I think that was probably Buggy's take on it. But anyway, this is where we find him, and we do find that the other female detective that nobody likes.
But if I could touch on the Mariah thing, I thought that was a really powerful scene. It's like I think the whole episode was almost designed for that one moment with her daughter. Like the whole episode to me was like little things in her breaking little by little. First they're praying and Misty calls her the devil, and it sort of like stings her more than you think it would. Maybe vulnerable state or something or what, but it gets to her, and then like little things here, all of a sudden she completely decides to give into it. She's pretending she's high society and fancy for so long, but deep down inside she knows what she came from, and that's what she's been denying this whole time. And like what Bushmaster's been saying, maybe there is some truth to it, you know, and decides to own up to it. And it's dark, but at the same time there's this liberating thing to it where at the end when she takes that shotgun and she is just blasting people, and Tilda comes into view, and Tilda looks at her like she does not know how her mom is going to react now. after, what just transpired. But she gives her like this little smile, like, it's going to be all right. Oh, man, that was powerful. I love that. I thought that whole movie was like Dark Knight with Heath Ledger. It was kind of like,
Yeah. Well, because it's still her. Even though she says she has never been able to love her, it's still her child.
Yeah.
And there's this difference between not being able to love someone like that and not caring about them.
Yeah.
There's lots of people you can care about and not truly be able to love.
Yeah, but also she was sort of like shedding all that weight she'd been carrying, things she'd always wanted to say or whatever. And now she like looked at her, she goes, I'm on the other side. I'm better now. I'm okay. I've realized what I am, and we move on forward from here. But I'm good now. And you saw that like wellness in her face. And then especially when she comes outside. And man, talk about, a guy delivering. Friggin' Shades goes down when all the chips are down, goes and finds an ace in the hole and brings it back and says, no, we got this. That was so awesome. I love the way that ended.
Yeah, I mean, it does end. It ends powerfully, and oh man, but I think the only thing that comes, and this is something I think we will see later on, is I think that it starts this unraveling of choices for Mariah to become more like Bushmaster, to become this being set on revenge,
right?
This person feeling that, and the reality is that is the choice. That is the evil choice to make, and it's the easy choice.
Right, but she's come to terms with that. She's come to terms with that. She's like, forget trying to pretend I'm not what my insides are screaming for me to do. I am that, and I will get what I want. That's
but I guess part of me is, it's this idea that, it's like the story of Job, and the thing that people forget about the story of Job is when after he's been restored to his good health by God because he didn't curse God, and one of his friends asks him, how did you survive? And he says, I survived barely by the skin of my teeth. Basically saying, yeah, if God had done one more thing, I totally would have cursed him out. But he took mercy on me at that last minute, because it is hard to be Job. It is hard to go through these things, and I think for Mariah, it's essentially it's a defeat to say, and now I just will no longer try to. I am not going to try to be more. Basically, the idea that I am just a Stokes and this is all I will ever be is essentially the fact that no one's going to let her be anything else.
Well, I think in this moment she's taking power in the name Stokes. She's like, you goddamn right, a Stokes is something to be afraid of,
Well, yeah, and certainly that is an aspect of it. But like I said, I think it's the easy way out. I think that the hard way out is being all the things that actually got Mariah to where she was from the start, which is the person who knew how to handle herself and keep control in a dark situation. Not being the person to, like the Kingpin at the end, who was the person who made the choice to be evil, but always denied that he had made that choice. And in the end, he says, "No, I will be evil. I am the evil man upon the road who sets upon the righteous." And when you look at Mariah, she is someone who has long tried to be righteous in a world of evil men. She is the Samaritan, filled in a world with evil men, filled in a world with people who look down on her as being a Samaritan, and not up to snuff by the qualities of other people in that world, and always tried to be a better person. And now she is saying, no, I will be what they always said I was. I will not take ownership of my own life. I will simply follow the path set before me. And I think that's a tragedy for her. You know, I think that is what, you know, you never want to become what they always said you were, I guess would be my.
Yeah, I mean, but like, I guess it's all about perspective. You could look at it that way, or you could say, if I always was that, maybe it's finally that I'm getting it.
Yeah, but I guess if we're gonna give moral value to not being evil,
Yeah.
every time you try not to be evil, it's a good thing.
Right, I know. It's not even about evil anymore. When it becomes about revenge, you know, we have laws for self-defense and stuff like that. So there, you know, I don't.
Well, there's a difference between self-defense and revenge. Self-defense is,
Yeah, but isn't it,
you know,
just a crime of passion? People get off on that too, you know.
well, it's, you know what?
There's room for that in our society, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, but a crime so what I'll say is a crime of passion requires no malice of forethought. And when you go kidnap somebody's uncle and throw him in a trunk, there's a little bit of forethought going into that.
Right, but it's just a broader version of the same principle, I think.
Well, yeah, but the fact that it is actually meant to be a narrow definition is the point. That, you know, what keeps us moral is understanding that there are limitations to our passions. And again, like I said, and you see this in Luke Cage, there is no reason for him not to snap Bushmaster's neck.
Right.
There is no reason for him not to take that step except to make the difficult moral choice. Because, hey, and not for nothing, no one would convict him. It is clearly a crime of passion. This is a guy who was the aggressor in the fight. Luke Cage never asked for the fight. This fight was brought to him, and the guy demanded the fight, and, you know, and not for nothing, he just needs to knock him out a little too hard, and the story ends, you know? And he can do that, but he knows that just because that's the easy way, just because that's what everyone says he should do and he can do.
But what if you don't have any choices left? You know what I mean? It's like morality is a luxury in certain situations.
Well, yes, in certain situations, the question becomes, is this that situation? In this situation,
I think for her it is. Everything's been taken away from her. She's down and out. She needs to fight dirty. She needs to pick dirt and throw it in people's eyes if she's going to make it.
Well, and not to give spoilers, but everything hasn't been taken away from her. In fact, really, because I don't think we've gotten to that. I think it's next episode, but you realize that there's a keen legal understanding of what you can and can't do under duress.
Right.
In this next, so speaking of actions you take under duress, things change, and her need to take the action she takes in the next episode is a pure choice of evil. And when she makes that pure choice of evil, there just is no going back from it. You know? And I think that the same can be said for anyone. And I think that is the real hero's journey. That's what makes you the hero, is that you make this choice not to destroy because it's the easy way out. And, you know, not for nothing, I don't know if you ever watched The Venture Brothers, but there was a whole thing with the Monarch and Doc Venture, and
I don't want,
you know, and basically the whole point is that when you're confronted with the chance to end the rivalry, the right choice is you don't, because in the end, it is better to the superior choice is to continue the fight than to end it just because you can and it is easy. Because then, what purpose do you have afterward? But
that seems pretty illogical to me, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but you know, like I said, but maybe you're a little bit evil, Mozz.
I might be. I don't know. I think evil is just a way to encapsulate, you know, our fear of understanding, you know, that the world is chaotic and that survival is the only thing that we really truly can measure.
yes, but then again, there is this idea that the moral choice may have the better long-term consequences, because for every evil choice you make, there is a consequence. And yes, you may gain short-term advantage through the evil choice, but you've also now squandered the capital of human society. That basically the society that you live in requires cooperative capital, and evil choices diminish your cooperative capital.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, just go all game theory on you there.
Right. But I mean, like, if you reach that point where none of that matters anymore, where what matters to you, that social capital, has no currency anymore, then you are making choices on a different set of parameters.
Well, yeah, and that's always the question everyone has to ask themselves.
Right. Like
what do I hold dear?
Right.
And I guess my point is that when what you hold dear is mere revenge, what do you do once revenge is completed?
Conquest further. Then once you've removed that vengeful thing that's sticking to your psyche, you can actually focus on what you are supposed to accomplish without being encumbered by something pulling and nagging at your attention that way. I think the idea is you would find your genuine self when you didn't have that burden any longer.
Yeah, well, I mean that's Ahab's quest is, if I once I destroyed this whale, then I can be free.
Right, but that's very much a gambler's mentality, though.
The thing is that once you've defined your life so much by this quest, it is one thing to say, like Thanos, well, I will watch the sunrise on a grateful universe. What do you do the next day?
No, but you're assuming that was the end goal of this person, but maybe not. Maybe it was just simply an exorcism of this emotion from the person by committing this act or doing whatever. Once that is done and you're clear of it, you can get back to being in touch with who you are and what you were meant to be doing.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that is certainly the argument that they would make. I'm not sure if, at least in the story that we will be seeing, that's going to play out. We will have to see what happens. But all in all, I really loved this episode. This was a very strong and powerful episode. I think we can absolutely agree on that. I think that this was Mariah's time to shine, and she took it, and she shined. I don't know if they give any nominations to superhero shows, but I think she definitely deserves one for this.
Yeah.
I think that this was just a great and powerful scene, and I think one of the things I think is the most interesting things about it is how she's the one person who knows everything, and I think, as you were saying about the cathartic nature of that reveal, that it was just the fact that she is being judged by these people, looked at by these people, because they don't actually know what the story is. And they've made assumptions about what that story is. And now when she reveals it, yes, I think that is cathartic, and it relieves her of this tragedy in a way that I don't think most other people could have ever truly enjoyed or endured.
Yeah.
Okay. Any final thoughts from you, Mozz?
No, I can't wait to see what happens next now that they have the uncle.
Yeah. Oh, it will be interesting. I assure you. Okay. So Mozz, if people would like to reach out to you, how can they find you?
They can email me at mozzmanzor@gmail.com or find me on Facebook under Mozz Manzor. That's MOZZMANZOOR.
And, of course, you can always write to me in that old-fashioned email where Mozz and Poz once did at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, at gmail.com. And, of course, follow me on the Twitters as I live tweet Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is coming back, and Gotham, which is coming back if it's not back already, and all sorts of things that I enjoy, like Cloak and Dagger and all kinds of great things. And The Good Place, which is actually a really good show. Everyone should be watching it, and The Venture Brothers, too. At Charlie Esser on Twitter, that's CharlieEssser. Look for the two E's in the middle for quality. Ping! All right, you jive turkeys. This has been one sweet Christmas, and thank you for joining us for the CageCast. Please step into the cage with us again next week. Good night.